Sharp Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com off of Love Can't Wait, which you can find at Amazon.com. The 5 ways to end the civil war between black men and black women. And I found this article on AtlantaBlackStar, and they make some good points. And also there's some stuff that they left out. However, I understand that it's not but so much you can write about in an article. And I don't know this person that wrote the article personally. Well, they made some good points. But there's this riff that I learned about when I went to college. This was in like the 90s. And, when I grew up, I have 3 sisters that's older than me. And I have to say that my sisters and my aunts, and I have a mother, and I have nieces. And what I see on television and what I hear about online today is kind of troubling to me. Because the women in my family don't act and behave the way they do in social media and on television and all these stories with some of the athletes' wives and how they hustle and basically getting money out of them, basically mistreating the guys for whatever reason. And all of these reality shows, the way women act on there, I never saw any of that shit growing up. So until I went to college, when I went to college and when I went into the Navy, that's when I saw a certain percentage of women acting a goddamn fool. I'm not saying I didn't know it didn't exist, but I wasn't exposed to those types of women at an early age until I got older. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to have anything to do with women that's acting a goddamn fool. But there's definitely a riff within the black community, and it's not a large percentage of men and women against each other. But you have to understand that within American society, black people, we don't have anything to do with anything. We don't influence laws and public policies. We don't even control our own neighborhoods. So we don't really control we don't control anything. So what I always say is, whenever I see people, black people or anybody, talking about the problems that exist in the black community or in the black neighborhoods, they don't tell the whole story. They don't talk about the laws and public policies and how they are very biased, and how in the black community or in just cities in general, they redline the communities, and depending on where you live at, you have better opportunities or better access to resources and than other people. They don't talk about a lot of that stuff. And see, they don't talk about where the problem stems from. They don't talk about how black people, for the most part, have a certain type of relationship with people in the dominant society. They don't talk about that, and it goes much deeper than I care to express at this moment, and that's a video for another day. So I'm gonna go into this. The first way to end the war between black and white women is an apology. Both sides have been hurt by the other in this civil war. Recognizing the assumptions and common misconceptions that are injurious to relationships between black men and black women is key to understanding what the other has to deal with and overcome. Yeah, that an apology and being accountable is it's very important. And there's with a lot of women in society, there's this thing where they don't really like being accountable for. A lot of women don't like being accountable for anything. This is just across the board. And a lot of women, just people in general, their behavior is based on consequences. So in other words, if they don't think anything's gonna happen to them, or if they think they can get away with whatever they're doing or thinking about doing, they're gonna keep on doing it. This is why you see a lot of athletes keep getting caught up. This is why you see a lot of women like to go to third parties to take care of their problems, because they think they can get away with whatever they're doing. So the next one is forgiveness. After recognizing the myths and lies that belittle black men and women as worthy relationship partners, black men and women should forgive each other for believing the misconception. Discarding black men and women over unproven stereotypes is trivial. Yeah, you have to forgive. Now a lot of people will say, well, why I have to forgive? You have to forgive for yourself, not for the other person. Because what happens is when you forgive the other person, especially if it was something that was horrible or tragic, you free yourself of that bullshit. You free yourself of that tragic event. And you have to face the fear of what happened during that event or that mistreatment or that whatever it was. You release that pain that continues to linger within you, within your psyche. So you're not, the idea is to forgive, but forgive for yourself. It's going to benefit you a hell of a lot more than the other person. So I agree with forgiveness. You can forgive, but you don't have to forget. That's the thing. A lot of people say, hey, if I forgive, I'm just supposed to just throw it out the window. No, you can forgive, but you don't necessarily have to forget. You can come back later and tell your story and share your story with young kids, young men and women somewhere. So that's what I think about that. Don't believe the myths. There is no great migration of black men to white women. 88% of all black men who are married are married to black women, and 93% of black women have black husbands, according to research by Empower magazine. Since there are 1.8 million more black women in America than black men, finding a black man for every black woman in the U.S. is statistically difficult. Yeah, it's a very small percentage of black men that marry white women. I didn't know these numbers until I had just read them, but there's a small percentage of black women that marry other guys as well. Most black women, they don't date out. And there's there's not enough black men to go around for black women as well. That's true. Because a lot of black males are married, and a lot of black males are in prison. And then some black males just aren't dateable, just not marriage material. So it is what it is. So, and another thing another thing I think you should think about, when you can date who you want, marry who you want, but don't date or marry women just because you see them on television or in the movies or any of that bullshit. My philosophy is I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I want to. No one's going to influence me. No one's going to tell me why I should be doing something because this is the fad. This is the new thing. No. If you're going to date white women or date any other nationality of women or any nationality of men, do it because you want to. Don't do it because it's a fad. Don't do it because you see it on social media. Don't do it because you see it in movies in Hollywood. None of that bullshit. So that's how I feel about that. So I'll move on to the next thing. Stop blaming one another. Yeah, I definitely agree with this. Pointing the finger is very weak quality, especially if you're a man. Because if you're a man, you have to know that excuses don't work. And women, that's a woman's quality. That's what women do. Women blame guys for damn near everything. And like I said earlier, a lot of women in American society especially, they don't really like being accountable for anything. But you as a man, you gotta lead. Because you were born to lead. And if you don't, the reason why a lot of guys aren't leaders is because they've been conditioned not to be. They've been conditioned to wait on a woman and to try to please her all the time. That's bullshit. So I'm going to get into this. Black women in the media have accused black men directly and indirectly of betrayal, insolence, and worthlessness. Meanwhile, black men have trivialized black women's legitimate concerns while ideally and passively allowing researchers and pundits to manipulate numbers to insult their character and integrity. With the support of black women, black men should own and work to correct any shortcomings that marginalize their contribution to the betterment of their community, according to research by Empower magazine. Yeah, you got to realize that teamwork make the dream work. Now, I know a lot of guys kind of look at it like from an individual standpoint. Just a lot of black people in general, we look at things from an individual standpoint. But you have to realize is that if it's just you, if you're by yourself all the time, you're an easy target. And you're only as good as the people that you have around you. So let's take somebody like Floyd Mayweather, for example. He's worth, I don't know, probably billions of dollars by now. But it's just him. So that makes him an easy target because nobody has his back. And that's part of the problem with us as black males. We're alone. No one has our backs. If something happens to you and you have no support system in place, well, you shit out of luck. Because, I mean, what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your kids? What's going to happen to your family? What's going to happen? I mean, if you go to prison for, 20, 30 years, what's going to happen to the next generation? And that's what the next point is about. Educating the next generation. For the future of black relationships The younger generation needs positive examples of healthy relationships. The media, especially reality TV shows and other influential media methods, are influencing the minds and perceptions of young black men and women. I was just saying that a couple minutes ago. Now, stuff that I see on television doesn't represent how I grew up. Doesn't represent the women that's in my family. And I just thought when I was in my 20s, seeing, traveling the world and seeing and meeting a lot of these women and hearing a lot of stories, and then when the early 2000s came about and the reality shows came on, I just thought this shit was crazy. I mean, you don't see other women on television acting like that too much. Now, there are some, but it's not a balance. It's not balanced. We're being exploited. We're being made to look like fools while other people just, go about their day and, it's all good. So I just think you have to, and a lot of kids are watching this on television, and you have to realize that the power of media and the power and the images on television it influences a lot of teenagers. And you have to realize that a lot of teenagers don't have good role models in their lives. They don't have wise parents. They don't have it today. I mean, it's not like I was when I was growing up. I had my parents, I had my uncles, I had my aunts. I can say that I have a very supporting family. I have a very supporting cast of friends around me. But a lot of people today, they just don't have that shit. So this is why, you see some of the people act out the way they do today, because they only know what they think they know. And sometimes that's not always the best thing for their best interests, to better them, to better their lives, So I just thought this was a very interesting article. 5 ways to end the civil war between black men and black women. And I'm going to put the link in the bottom of the video. Tell me what you think. Do you think this is a good start? Because I can tell you this, that until you change your environment, change your way of thinking, nothing's really going to change. And if we're waiting on white folks to help us to better ourselves, to empower ourselves, we're going to be waiting forever. So you tell me what you think. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Until next time, Sharp Game is out. Peace.